Welcome back to Study Tip for IGCSE Biology. Today's topic is related to homeostasis. Without further delay, let's begin. In this chapter, you will find out about what homeostasis and why it is important, the advantages of controlling body temperature, structure of the skin, how brain, hypothalamus, skin, muscles help to control body temperature, the role of negative feedback mechanism in homeostasis, the role of liver, pancreas in keeping blood glucose concentration within narrow limits, and finally, the symptom and treatment of diabetes. What is homeostasis and why it is important? Homeostasis meaning the maintenance of a constant internal environment. Homeostasis maintains optimal condition for enzyme action throughout the body, as well as all cell functions. It is the maintenance of a constant internal environment despite changes in internal and external conditions. In the human body, these include the control of blood glucose concentration. One of the most important organs involved in temperature regulation in mammals is the skin. Skin is made up of two layers. The top layer is called epidermis, and the lower layer is called dermis. Let's look into epidermis. All cells have been made in the layer of cells at the base. These cells are dividing by type of cells division called mitosis. The new cells that are made gradually move toward the surface of the skin. As they die, they fill up with protein called keratin. The top layer of the skin is made up of that cell called conified layer. Okay. Conified layer, the function is to protect the softer living cells underneath because it is hard and waterproof. It is always being worn away, replaced by cells from beneath. And aside from that, epidermis also contains dark brown pigment called melanin. And melanin absorbs the harmful ultraviolet in sunlight, which would damage living cells in deeper layers of the skin. So this is the hair follicle, and hair follicle is actually epidermis is folded inward to form the hair follicles. Control body temperature. Let's look how the dermis try to control body temperature. Dermis is made of connective tissue. Tissue contains elastic fiber and collagen fiber. As the person gets older, the fiber lose their electricity, so the skin becomes loose and wrinkled. Dermis contains seed gland. Dermis contains blood vessel and nerve ending. Nerve endings are sensitive to touch, pain, pressure, and temperature, so they help to keep aware of changes in the environment. Underneath the dermis is the layer of fat called adipose tissue. And this fatty tissue is made up of cells containing large drop of oil. This layer helps to insulate your body against heat loss and also act as an energy reserve. Let's look into sweat pore. Sweat glands secrete a liquid called sweat. Sweat mostly water with small amounts of salt and urea dissolved in it. It travels up the sweat ducts and out onto the surface of the skin through sweat pore. Sweat helps in temperature regulation. This is diagram a cross section through human skin. The hypothalamus. Where is the hypothalamus located? Hypothalamus located in the brain. Okay, hypothalamus. It is part of the brain located at the center of control mechanism that keeps internal temperature constant. The hypothalamus coordinates the activity of the part of the body that brings temperature change. Hypothalamus acts like a thermostat, contain temperature receptor that sense the temperature of the blood running through it. If this is above 37 degrees Celsius, then hypothalamus will send electrical impulse along nerve to the part of the body which have the functions of regulating body temperature. So, when the body temperature drops below 37 Celsius, nerve impulses from hypothalamus cause the following things to happen as illustrated in diagram A and the next page. When the body temperature drops below 37 means that when the body is too cold. What is actually happening is the upright hair trap a layer of warm air next to the skin which insulate it. Erector muscles contract, pulling hair up on end. You can see all the hair is in up position. And astrolus in the skin constrict, so not much blood flow through them. And all the capillaries are supplied with less blood from arterioles, so remain narrow. The artery become narrow. Okay, if you see this diagram also is explained. So maintaining body temperature in a steady status. When the body is too cold, what will happen? Is a sent to mechanism to gain or save heat. So as a result from that, respiration increase, muscle work, hair stand up, surface blood vessel constrict. And then the body will gain the heat and the temperature receptor is in the skin. How does it work? So this is how it works to gain the heat so that the body won't feel too cold. Okay, so the diagram B illustrates the way in which the hypothalamus skin and muscle work together to keep your internal body temperature within narrow set limits. Okay, control of body temperature. When the body is too cold, means that when the temperature falls, body system conserve heat. So the arteries supply the blood capillaries near the surface of the skin become narrower or constricted, called vasoconstriction. Only a very little blood can flow in them, and the blood flow through shunt vessel and the deep lying capillaries instead, because these are deep under the skin beneath insulating fatty tissue and the blood does not lose so much heat in the air. So what happened next? Hair stand up, the erector muscle in the skin contract, pulling the hair up on end. In the hairy animal like cat, it traps a thicker layer of warm air next to the skin to prevent the skin from losing more warmth, acts as insulator. On top of that, metabolism increase, the speed of chemical reactions such as respiration increase, it releases more heat. And the muscle work, some part of the body contract and relax quickly, produce heat called shivering. So the heat generated in the muscle warm the blood as it flow through them. So the blood distribute this heat all over the body. So when your temperature rises or body is too hot, so the body system loses heat. So the arteries supply the blood capillaries near the surface of the skin become wider, dilated, is called vasodilation. More blood flow through them because a lot of blood is so near the surface of the skin. heat is readily lost from the blood into the air. Hair lies flat. The erector muscle in the skin relax, so the hair lies flat on the skin. And when your body is too hot, it becomes sweat. The sweat glands secrete sweat. The sweat lies on the surface of the hot skin, and the water in it then evaporates, taking heat from the skin with it and thus cooling the body. Control of blood glucose concentration. The control of concentration of glucose in the blood is very important part of homeostasis. Cells need steady supply of glucose to allow them to respire. Without this, they cannot release energy they need. Brain cells are dependent on glucose for respiration. Too much glucose in the blood is not good either. It can cause water to move out of cell and into blood by osmosis. As a result, leave cell with little water to carry out metabolic process. Control of blood glucose concentration is done by pancreas and liver. Pancreatic juice is made by pancreas, which flow along pancreatic duct into duodenum. Islet of Langerhans are islands of endocrine cells scattered throughout the pancreas. They make two hormones, which is insulin and glucagon. This hormone help the liver to control the amount of glucose in the blood. So, refer to this diagram. Insulin has the effect of lowering blood glucose concentration, and glucagon does the opposite. Example, if you eat meal which provide a lot of glucose, the concentration of glucose in the blood goes up. Okay, the high blood glucose. Islet of Langerhans here detect this and secrete insulin into the blood. When insulin reaches the liver, it causes liver to absorb glucose from the blood. And some it is used for respiration, but some is converted in insoluble polysaccharide glycogen. And this is stored in the liver. And the blood glucose concentration fall to normal level of blood glucose. But when blood glucose concentration fall too low, okay, when the blood glucose concentration fall too low, pancreas secrete glucagon. Okay, pancreas secrete glucagon, and this is cause liver cells to break down glycogen to glucose and release into the blood. Glucose is released from the liver into the blood, and the blood glucose concentration rises, and it goes back to the normal level of the blood glucose. Diabetes. A person is said to have diabetes when the control of blood glucose concentration does not work. So type 1 diabetes is caused by the death of the cell that secrete insulin. It is not certain what causes diabetes type 1, but it is thought to result from the body's own immune system attacking and destroying the cell in pancreas that secrete insulin. When a person eats meal contain a lot of carbohydrate, the concentration of glucose in the blood increases. Islet of Langerhans from pancreas would trigger the secretion of insulin. But the person with the type 1 diabetes, this does not happen. So the blood glucose concentration goes up and stay up, and this condition is called hyperglycemia. Hyperglycemia causes the person feel unwell, dry mouth, blur vision, and feel thirsty. Heart rate and breathing increase. So on the other hand, not eating carbohydrate in a long time will cause the blood glucose concentration to drop very low because no insulin has been secreted. So the liver has not built up store of glycogen that can now be broken down to produce glucose. So the person has hypoglycemia. Cells do not have a supply of glucose to release energy by respiration. Hypoglycemia causes the person feel very tired, may show confusion and irrational behavior. Eventually, they become unconscious. Normally, when this series of events is beginning and the person knows they need something sweet to get their blood glucose concentration up towards normal. So having blood glucose concentration that swing very high and very low for a long period of time do damage to numerous body organs. As such, it is very crucial that the person with the type 1 diabetes tries to keep their blood glucose concentration within reasonably normal limits. So, for the regular monitoring, the person with the type 1 diabetes or with the person with the diabetes, they have to perform regular checking their blood glucose concentration regularly, test urine for glucose using dipstick, and have a proper diet or a good diet, eat plant food and healthy fats, lose extra weight, and be more physically active. With that being said, I would like to end my presentation. I hope that you will enjoy reading and studying. Thank you very much for this topic. And I will see you in the next topic.